Hey everybody, welcome back. Now we're going to go on to part 4 and how to bring this whole thing together. Now if you're coming in new on this movie, you need to back up and start with part 1 on our little project here of building our example that uses MooTools to load in external HTML into an HTML document. Okay? Alright, now what we're going to do is, this is the part where we start putting all this together. So I'm assuming at this point what you've done, if you're working along with me, is you've already designed your index page, you've got some style sheets set up, all that good stuff. And we're going to put all this together, make sure it works, and upload it to the server. Now, what we're going to do is, this is kind of a checklist here. And what I want to do is start by, I've got TextMate open here, and you can see that over in the tray here, it tells me all the stuff in this example folder, which is the folder I'm working in. So this is my little mini website here. And you can also see that on the desktop if I double click on example, and here's the same thing just inside a folder. Let's go ahead and close that. We're going to work out a TextMate right now. Okay, now what you're going to do first of all is you need to make sure, let's go ahead and close all these folders. Okay, what you're going to make sure that you have here is the index.html file. This is where all your HTML code goes, obviously. Then you have 4 folders. You're going to have a content folder, a CSS folder, a gallery folder, and a JS folder. The gallery folder is assuming you're using images. And so anyway, that's all I have in there. If I open that, you can see that it's just images, just JPEGs. Okay, let's go ahead and close that. In the content folder, let's open that. I need 4 documents in here, okay? And then in my example, I have 4 different links, and each one of those links, when I click on it, is going to bring one of these files in. So let's click on any of these, and you can see what's in here. Here's the bio.html, and here's the contact.html, etc. And you'll notice in here that each one of these documents, it just contains a little bit of HTML. I don't have the HTML tags, I don't have a body tag, I don't have a head tag, because those are already set up in the index.html. This is all this is HTML that's brought in to this index.html when I click on a link. Okay, so that's where the magic happens here. So I can go ahead and close those real quick. Okay, so you want to make sure that each of your fragment HTML documents are inside this content folder, and pay attention to the names. Okay, make sure you've named them things that make sense, that you know where they are. Okay, so let's close that. In the CSS folder, I just have my styles.css document, and this contains all my CSS styles for how the index.html is going to look. So I'll go ahead and close that. And then finally, this is the important one, the JS folder. This is the exact same folder I gave for you to download in the last movie off my website. And so once you've decompressed that, just drag and drop it in here and everything's ready to go. You should have 2 files in here. There's a load content.js, and notice I use camel case. It's capital C, everything, because these things are case sensitive, which means if you have an uppercase letter, if I use a lowercase c, it won't call it. Okay, so they have to be exactly as they are here. So load content.js and mootools.js are the 2 JavaScript files that are in there. Load content is the scripts that make everything happen, they're just custom written scripts that I wrote. And then the mootools.js is the framework that's available on MooTools site. It's also, I've included it in the download, so you don't have to get it from MooTools if you don't want. Okay, so that's all my folder structure and all the files that I've got, and now here's how you link them up together. Let's go over to the index.html file, and you can see here's all my code inside, and this is just that top HTML file. And there's a couple things I need. Okay, the first thing I did is right here under title, I have a link tag, and this brings in my style sheet. Okay, so it's going to say the href is going to be css/styles.css. The type is text./css, and the relationship is it is a style sheet. Okay, so you're going to need that tag to bring in your styles. Obviously, you probably already have that. And then here's the 2 important ones. I have 2 script tags, and they're going to bring in the 2 JavaScripts, and they must go in this order. You need to have the mootools.js script first. Okay. What it's going to do is it's going to read these as it sees them, and if it sees my custom scripts first, it's going to fail because it doesn't know what any of them refer to, because they all refer to the MooTools framework. So the MooTools must come first. So as you can see, I have here script type equals text/JavaScript, and the source for that file is going to be in the JS folder /mootools.js. So it's bringing in MooTools first, close the script out. The second script is going to bring in that custom style sheet. It's JS/load content, remember capital C, it is case sensitive.js. Sometimes people have the tendency to download files and they put their extensions, the .js in caps, and that's fine, just make sure it's in caps here if that's in fact what's going on. So if you're having trouble, that's one thing to look at. Okay, so there we go. I have my 2 scripts, I have my styles, and I'm ready to go in here. Now, let's go over for a second. Actually, first, let's come down here. And this is very important. I have, and your mileage may vary depending on how you design your web page, but this is the part that you have to have consistent. I have 4 links here, and mine happen to be in an unordered list, and I use list tags and all that. You may not have done that on yours, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is that you have, for each link, here's the bio link, I have an A tag around it. Okay, so this is a link tag. So href is going to be just the £, and the ID, this is the important part, you must give it an ID. And you can give them different names if you want, or you can keep what I've got here. I will tell you now, it's easiest to copy what I've got here. So the bio request is going to be bio request. Notice this is also case sensitive, so I use camel case, meaning I don't use a space, I just use a capital letter on the next word so I can read it. So this is bio request with a capital R. The next one for work is going to be work request with a capital R. Resume is going to be resume request with a capital R. And finally, contact is going to be contact request with a capital R in there. Okay, that is important, these IDs, because if you change them, it won't be able to find them in the script. Okay, and then finally, you need to come down and you need to have a div, and you can leave it blank if you like, or you can have content in here as it loads into the page. That link is going to, or excuse me, that div, it needs an ID called loader, L-O-A-D-E-R, okay, because we're going to refer to that in the script also, so it needs to be able to find that. This loader div is where it's going to load the content in from these, let's go back up here to the tray. You can see in the content folder, on these HTML documents, they're not complete HTML documents. It's going to take the chunk of HTML that's in that document and load it into the loader. So that's why I called it loader, obviously. And that's where that goes, and the JavaScript will do that insertion for you. Okay, so that's the important part. Just make sure the main 2 things is these 2 scripts come in order. You have to have mootools.js first, load content second. Then make sure your IDs are all the same as what I've got here. Other than that, you can design whatever you want on the page. You can go crazy. You can put these in first and then design around if you want, but I'm assuming at this point you already have something designed, so make sure those link up correctly. Okay, now let's double check some things. Let's open the load content. Okay, open the JS folder over here. Let's open the load content.js, and this is important in here. If you have changed any of these names, okay, for instance, you can see up here in the function part of this, which is about, it's kind of the middle chunk of this file, you can see I have loader, and if you watch the last movie its entirety, you know that this is how mootools looks for an element by ID. It's going to use this $, it's going to look for loader in there. So if you didn't use loader for your name in there, you need to change these from loader to whatever you did use. If you used loader, don't worry, you're good. Keep going. Okay, now in the bottom chunk here, these need to be the same IDs that you used for the links, for the A tags. Okay, so bio request with a capital R is what I used. Look over here in the index.html, you can see it right here. href is £, ID is bio request. So that's what that refers to. So these need to match whatever's in your HTML. Again, the easiest thing to do is if you didn't watch the entire last video on how this works functionality-wise, it's easiest just to use my names, okay? Then you don't even have to touch this document. You can leave it closed. The last thing you want to look for is this get content, okay? Each one of these has different ones. This is simply a URL, okay? It's going to be content/bio.html, okay? Now this, basically, I've labeled this folder over here in the tray content, and these are the file names. So these need to match up. So if you didn't call your bio.html, if you called it something else, you need to make sure that it's the same as it is here. Otherwise, this will fail. It won't be able to find it, okay? So make sure all those things are linked up, okay? So we've got all that linked up. Now we're ready to give this a shot. Let's go over real quick. I'm going to go to the desktop and open my example folder. And let's go ahead and open index.html into the browser. So here's Safari. Now, when I click on one of these, we're going to notice a little problem. Let's go ahead and click a link. It's going to give me some text that says the request failed. Okay. Again, if you watched the last movie, you know that I programmed that in there as a safeguard, so I knew something was happening. The script is working because I told it if it fails to tell me that. So the script is working. Now, why isn't it working? Well, in the first movie I mentioned that mootools, and this is, I know, a little bit of a pain, which is why we're making sure all this checklist is done the last. Okay, you want to design your web page first, add this in last, unless you want to work off the server, which is not as fun. But anyway, mootools does not support the local file structure on your computer, which means up here in the URL, we have file :/ users, etc. It doesn't jibe with how MooTools works. It wants to see this on a server format. Okay, so that's why this is failing. It doesn't know where to find these links. Okay, and I know this is a pain, but how do I make this work? It's not working. All I have to do is upload it to the web server. Okay, so once you've uploaded this to the web server, and if I open transmit, and you go ahead and you can do this in whatever your FTP program is, if you're using Dreamweaver or if you're using FileZilla, as we've discussed in previous podcasts. I upload this to the server, and I've already actually uploaded it here. But anyway, another slow internet day here. Here's my AJAX folder, and that's where it is. That's where I've uploaded everything. So now if I go back over to the browser and I type the link in, so it's going to be tedforbes.com/AJAX is where I put it. And you need to make sure this is whatever you used. If you're using the IMED2315 server, you need to make sure that it's / and then your last name and then wherever that file is. Go ahead and click return. Here it is. It's loaded in. Now when I click on these links, magically they work. Okay, I haven't changed a thing. It just won't work on the desktop. That's all you need to know. And you can see that everything's working. Now if I have a bug in here, I probably need to go fix the file and simply upload it again. But I know that's a little bit of a pain, but that's something that is not really well documented on the MooTools website. And if you're a beginner to MooTools, you don't always know that starting out. And that was kind of a weird thing for me when I first downloaded the example. So as you can see, finally everything's working. If you have a question on anything, drop me a line. Otherwise, I think we've covered everything, and that is how you put it all together.